I don't care who does political violence. I'm against it. Whether the motivations are that you do or don't like abortion, that you do or don't like gay people, that you do or don't support Ukraine, or what, I don't care what your issue is. I'm against all of it. But I'm also against lying about the origins of it. And as we have studied deeply before, CSIS has the data, the Brookings Institute has the data, Reuters has the data. Unfortunately, the overwhelming political violence in this country comes from the right. But a streamer that I'm not super familiar with, but he's got a huge audience, a streamer that goes by the name Asmongold, in the wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination yesterday, said that 90% of the political violence in the United States is left wing. Take a listen.
Necessarily a one-sided thing. I think that in the last 5 years or so, especially since BLM, it's been a 90% left-wing thing. But that doesn't mean that the 10% right-wing people are right either.
It's been a 90% left-wing thing. Again, I'm against all of the political violence. If it turns out that the Kirk shooter was a leftist, I will denounce him and say, this is sick, prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law, lock him up and never let him see the light of day. If it's someone from the right, I will say the same thing. Of course, if prosecuted and found guilty, right? We don't just lock people up without due process. But the claim that 90% of political violence in the U.S. is from the left couldn't be more wrong. You've got studies from the Center for Strategic and International Studies, the Brookings Institution, Reuters. For decades, the far right is overwhelmingly responsible for the majority of political violence. And especially if you just look at deadly attacks. Now, the 90% talking point, when you hear it, it comes from, cherry picking incidents, lumping like all protest related property damage as left wing violence and calling each an individual incident, this really weird stuff, mislabeling counter protest activity, ignoring right wing attacks. Like there's no sensible way you can get to that number. It also is usually leaning on a really vague definition of political violence. Like if a window is broken, is that political violence? Well, depending on which window breaks you count, you can start kind of messing with the numbers. This is not how serious researchers treat what is going on. And when you use a consistent definition, you look at the full picture, the numbers are really clear. The far right has committed way more political violence, caused way more deaths, and posed the greater threat in recent American history, going back decades. And so I want to end all of this stuff, but lying about what's going on isn't going to help us get there. And just as much as I've said that the left shouldn't take any pleasure in this assassination because it makes the country worse. No matter who's getting assassinated, it makes the country worse. That's not the way to do it. I guess this guy Asmongold is on the right, I gather. Lying about the origins of political violence in general is also not going to get us anywhere. Disturbing stuff to see it, but unfortunately, this guy's got a big audience, and my guess is a lot of people will uncritically start repeating that, and it's only going to make the problem worse.